to Dr. Alan Wager, a researcher at the think tank UK in a Changing Europe. Well, we can talk about missiles if you want, but that's not why we what we got you on. What are your thoughts on the political situation here? And I suppose how this is playing in the Kremlin we've got to and elsewhere, what they must think.
Yeah, well, when Conservative MPs are having these conversations, the clips like you just played with Ben Wallace will be factoring into the question of whether Liz Truss can hang on in the short term, because having a political vacuum at this stage carries their own set of problems. So you have these questions about the UK's reputation and so on are really important. But then you also have other questions like, will the Conservative Party be able to come up with a decent reason why there shouldn't be an election anytime soon, and just how damaged the party's brand is in the long term. I mean, I think a lot of damage has been done, and Liz Truss's position is completely terminal politically. So the question then is how the Conservative Party can come and create a story for why there shouldn't be an election almost immediately, and that's the sort of conversations that I think will be being increasingly had within Downing Street. Not can Liz Truss hang on, but what do we do next?
I mean, a number of commentators on the sort of Remain side of things are choosing to characterise what we're seeing now as the crystallisation of all that was wrong in their view about Brexit. This would bring us to this. It's nothing to do, it's not much to do with Ukraine. It's not much to do with the pandemic. Brexit was always going to lead to this chaos one way or another.
I think that a lot of this has basically nothing to do with Brexit, but in a sense, the Conservative Party's internal confusion over what it stands for exactly was sort of disguised by Brexit. Boris Johnson was able to be all things to all people in the 2019 election, and the basic question of what the Conservative Party was for was disguised by the success of Boris Johnson. The fact that he could be, the political alchemy of Boris Johnson was that he could be all things to all people. And actually, once you got rid of Boris Johnson, then you were left with a Conservative Party which had no idea where to go next. It's moved in this one direction on the economy with Liz Truss, and within a matter of months, within a matter of weeks, that's sort of run out of road. And now we're moving into a very different direction. So we've had three sort of political and three sort of economic visions for the Conservative Party in 3 months, and that's a result of, if you like, of the fact that Brexit for 3, 4, 5 years, all we talked about was Brexit, and we didn't actually talk about these questions about the economy and the future of the UK.
But even if you believe that, then a change at the top, or even a general election leaving to the Labour government, won't necessarily lance that boil. It will remain a big bone of contention.
Yeah, but I think the thing is now the Conservative Party, I think this is one of the things is that these are conversations that it's perhaps okay to have in opposition when you can do a bit of soul searching, you can talk to your members, you can have a vote amongst people that sign up to be a member. But when you're in government, having these sort of existential conversations about what the purpose of the party is are a bit more damaging to the party brand, are a bit more damaging to the national interest, if you like, and that's the reason why it'll partly be because Conservative Party MPs are looking after their own interest and thinking about their own seats and so on. Only 13% of the public think that Liz Truss would be able to win the next election. 14% of the public think that aliens will visit Earth this year. So the Conservative Party's brand under Liz Truss is gone, and that would be a big factor for MPs. They think that they can't win an election under her, but there will also be some discussion about the national interest and this political vacuum we've got now.
Do you suppose there would be celebrations exactly at Labour Party headquarters if she resigned and there was going to be a general election now? I mean, surely it'd be the poison chalices of all poison chalices to pick this situation up.
Yeah, I mean, this winter coming and if you like, the next 12 to 18 months to come are going to be a difficult time, and would be a difficult time for any government. And that's what sort of Keir Starmer's message has been has been today. I mean, if you think about the last time Labour entered office after a long period in opposition, it was when the economy had been growing, although the Conservative Party had lost their reputation for economic competence. That we were in a period of extremely high economic growth. So Labour were able to offer a variety of things across the economy and not increase taxes and so on. The inheritance for Keir Starmer, the economic inheritance, will be very, very different, and the UK economy and politics is in a very different place to what it was the last time. There was a big tidal shift away towards the Labour Party. So yeah, I think while, as you say, there will be the Labour Party will be very pleased with the way the political tide has shifted so dramatically, and the way the political landscape has shifted over the last 2-3 months. But in terms of the economic and governing inheritance, there's going to be a lot of difficulties ahead.
I mean, can you think of a sensible way out of this? And I don't know what is common sense. Is what you think, and what you think is right, and no one else is sure about. But can you think of how you steady this ship now over the next year?
Well, for the Conservative Party, if there's a will, there's a way, and I think there is the will now that for Liz Truss to go pretty soon. And they talk about the sort of men in grey suits going into Downing Street. I think that's in a sense what we're seeing happen now. So I think there will be discussions about how the transition to the next leader happens. I mean, the question will be, I suppose, in terms of big picture, will be, does the Conservative Party need to make some sort of promise or commitment that there will be at some point a renewal of their electoral mandate? If we've got the 5th Prime Minister in 6 years, if you're thinking about the long-term future of the Conservative Party, is it better that they try and figure out a way to face the electorate on their own terms, or do they sort of cling on for 2 years and wait for as long as possible and then face the consequences of that? So it's the questions about short-term, long-term interest and so on. That's all the sort of strategic conversations that will need to be happening now. I think the transition, most clearly, and you heard people like Paul Goodman on Conservative Home say this yesterday, the most obvious person now is sort of Sunak, Hunt inauguration, if you like, and that's really significant. When you think about these people really did lose. They didn't win among the parties, so it's a really big change for the Conservative Party now.
Thank you very much for coming on from UK in a Changing Europe.